Hey everyone, this is Ryder from YoGov and Skip, and I'm here with Isla. It's Thursday, April 23rd, and I want to give an update on unemployment in the U.S. If you have applied or if you haven't applied, if you want to know more about what's happening, this video is for you because there's been some new changes today, new news coming out of different states, and also numbers from last week. So right off the bat, I'll get into some of the numbers and some of the reporting that's been done because if you have applied, this is important to you. I want to say thanks again for watching. It means a lot to Isla and I, and feel free to subscribe and share this too. I'd love to hear in the comments if you have applied for unemployment, what state you've applied for, and if you've already received or if you're still waiting. I'd love to hear that in the comments. And also, if you want to see our self-reporting tracker for unemployment state by state, it's free. You can go to helloskip.com, and at the top there's an unemployment tracker at HelloSkip on our Skip website. So let's dive in. So it was announced today that another 4.4 million people applied for unemployment last week, which is staggering. It's really incredible. So that means in the last 5 weeks, 26 million people in the U.S. have applied for unemployment. That's nearly 1 in 6 American workers. Obviously, nothing like this has ever happened in the history of the U.S. So 26 million. Last week we thought it was a lot with 22 million, and of course, we expect this number to keep continuing to grow. So I'm going to talk about the numbers. I briefly want to touch on the vote in Congress today about the stimulus because this is all related, obviously, to like how we are all responding to the pandemic. And then I'm going to talk about some New York Times reporting, which did a really good job about what this means state by state in terms of income for you. So so this is a huge number. One thing that New York State reported on today, that they are ahead of the curve in a lot of respects, and that they've processed over 2 million unemployment applications in New York, and many states are lagging. Florida is the example now of states that are really having a tough time. There's lines around, long lines waiting to fill out applications in person because their online system has failed. So they've encouraged people to fill out paper applications, which is of course is just incredible too, because it means you have to get people to come in person, which defeats the whole purpose. But the point is that every state is struggling to fulfill this demand, these 26 million people, and next week I predict that it'll be 30 million. So we're going to see the same trend in the next few weeks. New York did say today that they have 3,000 people. They've hired 3,000 people to help process the unemployment claims. So that's good for them. I think a lot of the states can follow New York's lead to try to speed these up because so many of you have been waiting for your unemployment checks. The New York Times did like this graphic today. I'll share a link to it. That basically shows a state-by-state breakdown of the $600 unemployment booster shot that the federal government approved. Basically, was a blanket boost to all the states' unemployment. Whether you're in Maine or California, you would get an extra $600 added to your weekly amount. And what is very striking is for half the states in this country, you will earn more on unemployment now than you would with a regular job. And even in the half of states that aren't included, for a lot of low-wage work, you will still earn more on unemployment. So, I mean, that's the punchline here for a lot of this. If and when, not if, but when you receive your first unemployment check, assuming your states don't declare bankruptcy, which is another piece that came up today. All right, Isla had enough. You will likely be earning more on unemployment. there's a whole list of states. So at the top, it talks about, Maine, New Mexico, Idaho, Iowa, Kentucky, Arkansas, South Dakota, Vermont, Wyoming, Montana, um, a dozen other states that you will be earning more on average than you would uh, if you weren't on unemployment. And I think a lot of the rationale for this, there's research into, okay, why this $600, um, as opposed to having it a percentage of your income, which makes more sense. Not a blanket income. Obviously, $600 is very different in New York and California than it is for a lot of other states. Um, so, but the reason for that is, according to some of the folks who put this policy in place, is that it would have been too complicated for the state's systems to try to have this nuance and to try to make it so so it's a percentage of income. It would have been too complicated. So they said, let's do 600 across the board. I'm not sure if they'll change that, but it's, one of the big problems with this is that unemployment benefits are typically meant to keep you afloat, but not enough to incentivize you to not find a job, right? And so I think that's the discussion, and maybe we're not ready to have that discussion in a couple weeks or months when we hopefully have the health crisis under control. Then the discussion needs to be, how do we get 26 million or 30 million or maybe up to 40 million Americans back to work? And that's when this is going to become obviously big discussion. And how long can states afford to keep people to keep paying unemployment insurance? So every state pays unemployment insurance from the state budget. And what's come out today, too, even Senator Mitch McConnell said this, that he suggests some states file for bankruptcy if they have problems, because what has come out of the stimulus bill that was just, by the way, was just passed today, the $484 stimulus bill, that is mainly geared towards small businesses and sole proprietors for the PPP EIDL programs, which I've done a few videos on. That $484 billion goes mainly to those programs and to hospitals and testing, but it does not go to states or cities. And that's where we're hearing a lot of states, especially, starting to complain a bit more. And there's discussion that these might be in the next stimulus bill. In fact, they probably will be in the next stimulus bill. Money for government, money for state and local governments. But as of now, states haven't gotten anything. And meanwhile, they're struggling, obviously, in so many different ways. But, not only tax revenue, but also just these off-the-charts unemployment numbers and having to pay out a lot of this. So I'll keep you posted when we find out anything about state assistance, because there's always that risk, okay, so even if every state's saying no matter when you applied for unemployment, you'll eventually be approved, and you will have backfill for that period of time for when you became valid, to apply for unemployment insurance and when you got your first check. Now, the assumption there is that the states have enough money to pay that out. So that's a separate conversation. But the second piece and the big change for unemployment is the PUA, the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program. And this is what extends coverage to freelancers, self-employed workers, or part-timers, right? So all of the Uber and Lyft drivers, etc., and the gig workers, the PUA, the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program, which was part of the first stimulus package, they're all eligible. The problem is that only 10 states have started making payments to this program. So if you're in one of those categories, you're probably still waiting. So forget the regular unemployment insurance. This new program is still has a long way to go. So we've been hearing from a lot of people that they're concerned oh, I'm a freelancer, I'm a gig worker, I'm self-employed. When can I start to apply for unemployment insurance? And in fact, a lot of the same people who've applied for these EIDL emergency loans, because you can, if you're self-employed, your own business, sole proprietor, are also talking about unemployment. Um, and because they're two separate programs, by the way, the EIDL is a federal program, the unemployment is a state program, you can apply for both. You can apply for both. So a lot of people are doing that, and they're asking questions. Okay, when is my when is my state going to have this ready? I think California, I think we still have a couple weeks to go for this to be active in California. I was reading this morning, so that's going to be a big piece. Probably a lot of you are waiting for that to kick in, as well as the regular unemployment insurance with the $600 on top of your claims. So the last thing I want to say for today is, because so much of this is related to how much money can the federal government pass to get into individuals' hands, businesses' hands, states' hands, so states can then afford to give out unemployment insurance to not only the existing traditional W-2 workers, but also to the other, let's say, non-traditional workers, right? So a lot of this starts with the federal government, how much money will be passed. And today, as part of the vote for this $484 billion, the House also approved a coronavirus oversight panel. So because the House is Democratic-led, they were able to pass by a vote of 212 to 182 today, along party lines, to have an investigative subcommittee. I'm reading here from the release. There will be a select investigative subcommittee of the House Oversight Committee that will have far-reaching power to investigate how the trillions of dollars already approved by Congress for coronavirus relief are being used. It will be able to issue subpoenas, review U.S. preparedness for the crisis, and examine decisions about the crisis within the administration. So in the resolution, it also says this panel is authorized to conduct a full and complete investigation and issue a final report to the House of its findings on a wide array of aspects of the federal response to the pandemic, including executive branch policies, deliberations, decisions, activities, and internal and external communications related to the coronavirus crisis. So, of course, this means there will be a lot of news and investigation coming out of the White House response. So, now whether in this case, the House has enough bandwidth to actually do this now. I mean, they're trying to pass trillion-dollar bills. It remains to be seen whether they have the time to do this type of investigation now, or they'll wait a few weeks. Obviously we're in disaster mode now, and I expect in the coming months, certainly things will come out about how everything was rolled out, as this says, our preparedness, and how we allocated a lot of this money. So I think that's good news. In case you're wondering, okay, trillions are being spent, who's overseeing this? There is an oversight committee now, which is great news. So, all right, thanks so much for watching. I hope that helps you. If you're waiting for unemployment, or if you've received your first check, or if you're a gig worker that's also waiting to find out, this, depending on your state, of course, makes a huge difference, whatever state you're in. If Florida, I'm wishing the best for you if you're in Florida. Let us know in the comments, and also go to helloskip.com, because we have a self-reporting tracker, and now you can see what percentage of people who've applied on or before you have received their unemployment. So it's a good benchmark to help you see how much progress is being made. Okay, thanks again on behalf of Isla and I, who checked out early today. Hope you're staying well, staying safe, and staying home. Thanks.